Hey everybody, welcome back. So today what we're going to cover is doing an experiment where we're designing our own AI system that integrates both an ethical framework and a robust security measure system. And in the guidelines, we wanted to cover an industry for the AI system such as healthcare, finance, autonomous vehicles, or customer service. And in my case, I decided to go with the music industry. Seeing how on my channel I've been going and releasing a lot of albums of my own AI generated music, I thought this would be a good fit for the project. So this presentation is going to explore the development of the ethical and secure AI system designed for the music industry. We're going to make an assumption that this is going to be deployed in the music industry. And we're going to analyze the system scope and objectives, and we're going to look at all of the key stakeholders, their concerns, and then we'll examine the relevant ethical framework and principles behind it. And finally, we'll discuss the system's code of ethics, security requirements, and the design. So for the scope and objectives, we have 4 points that we're going to cover. First off, for the music composition, we're going to be developing AI algorithms so we can generate musical ideas, melodies, harmonies, rhythms, and assist the composers in their creative process. So like a lot of what I do in my music generation is I'll take the lyrics that I'm working on, plug those into the large language model, or the GPT engine, to help assist with lyric making, and then from there I'll go into the music generator and get the output, blending the two together, the music generation and the lyrics. And this is kind of a crossover into the production and arrangement. So I'm mixing, mastering, doing the instrument arrangement, and trying to get everything very efficient with high quality. Now, the part that I'm learning about now outside of this project is the music discovery and recommendation. So we want to use AI to analyze and recommend the personalized music selections for listeners and improve the user experience so that we can foster the music exploration. So in this case, I've been using a distribution network called DistroKid. And this is a part where the music generation and the music discovery is not currently married up and seamless. So I'm doing all of the music generation in a multi-step, multifaceted, multi-step process. And then after the music is generated, the music discovery part of that is also kind of a manual process. It's automated, it's semi-automated. You have to go in, you have to go through each song and upload each one, and then do quite a bit of manual tweaking in order to get it out there. But once you've completed the process for each song, the system automatically does the rest of the work getting it out on the network. And I'm very impressed with how DistroKid gets the music out there on, it's like 20 or 25 different platforms out there. And this is the fourth point is something that I think could be very much bolstered by the music industry, is the music education and accessibility. So providing AI powered tools for music education, enabling individuals to learn and create music more effectively and accessibly. Right now, like for me, I've been doing this all on the fly. There's no school or no, if you want to do tutorials or whatever, you're probably going to get them piecemeal by here's how you generate lyrics, here's how you do the prompts for music generation, here's how you do your distribution, and there's like all these different options. It's kind of like paralysis by analysis. So I think it'd be very overwhelming for someone new to get into this, kind of like what I've been going through over the last few months doing this. So who are the key stakeholders and the ethical concerns behind the stakeholders? Obviously, you have the musicians. They're worried about AI generated music replacing their creative roles, potentially causing job displacement. I think this is something that's I think there's a lot of fear across all industries of people being worried about losing jobs. And I could go into this, you know, I could probably spend 10 minutes just talking about this, but I don't really think the musicians have much to worry about in this case. From the music labels, they might be concerned that the legal implications of using AI generated music, including copyright and ownership rights, this is a hot topic right now where there's concerns about fair use. You know, if you're listening to something on, if you're just a musician that plays your own instrument and sings, if you listen to a song on the radio and you have an idea and you write a song, you've been influenced into making something. On the other hand, if AI is scraping the internet, learning everything about all the songs everywhere, um, and then it's able to create its own stuff based off of all the input, an argument can be made that there's not a whole lot of difference between someone listening to the radio and listening to days worth or years worth of music and coming up with an album all by themselves versus an AI listening to the internet and being able to generate its own stuff. So I I think there's an argument to be made, and we'll see how that all shakes out, because I think the RIAA is currently suing Suno and Udio. So we'll see how that plays out. The music consumers might be concerned about the authenticity and the originality of the AI generated music, questioning its emotional impact and value. I think it's a valid concern, but at the same time, I don't see, at this juncture, I don't see it being like the music that I've been generating. Uh, I have to go through, there's still a human touch behind it. Like I have to do A/B testing basically on it kicks out two songs at a time. I listen to A and B and I compare the two, which one do I like better, and I do that until I've got the final result that I like. Um, and if it's not emotional, or if it doesn't sound good, I kick that out. So I think it's a valid point, but at the same time, don't want to see the point overblown. And then the final point, society, they may worry about the ethical implications of AI in the music, including potential biases and the exploitation of creative resources. This kind of goes back to the music label and the RIAA suing Suno and Udio about scraping the internet. Um, we'll see how this shakes out in the courts. I kind of have my personal bias, on this, and I lean more towards the AI than I do towards the record labels. But that can be like an entire hour's worth or 10-hour video by itself. So when we look at the ethical frameworks, we have utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. Utilitarianism prioritizes the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Music could justify AI to use to create music that maximizes the enjoyment and reduces costs for everybody. From a deontology standpoint, this focuses on the moral duties and the rules. So you can consider the rules like the law. It emphasizes respecting the artist's rights and ensuring fair compensation for their creative work, even when AI assists in the process. So I'm using AI now to help generate my music, so that kind of fits into that. Virtue ethics. This framework emphasizes the character traits and the moral virtues. It encourages the development of responsible and ethical AI systems that foster creativity, collaboration, and the respect within the music industry. So for ethical principles, we have fairness, accountability, transparency, privacy, and creativity. So for fairness, the AI system should treat all the users fairly regardless of their background or identity. This includes providing equal access to resources and opportunities. So we want to make sure that the same opportunities are given to all musicians, and we want to avoid bias in any of the recommendations that are made outside of like after the music is generated. So from an accountability standpoint, there's clear lines of responsibility that are needed to establish, or that need to be established for any decisions made by the AI systems, ensuring transparency and preventing abuse. So we want to make sure that we're documenting any AI decisions and ensuring that there's human oversight. So like I was saying, when I generate the music, each step of the process, Not so much in the actual generation of the music. Like I don't have any oversight over the code. That would be the people that are at Suno or Udio and how they produce the music behind the scenes. But if I don't like the music, I have a personal say in what comes out of it. I could reject all of it. Let's put it that way. From a transparency standpoint, AI systems should be transparent and understandable, allowing users to understand how they work and how to make informed decisions. So, we want to make sure that we're clearly labeling AI-generated music. We don't want to hide the fact that the music is being generated by a system and it's not actual performers. By hiding that fact, there could be some ramifications with that, especially if there's a sudden surge in popularity of something. Hey, we want to go and see this band, and they find out that it's all AI generated. It could end up destroying the band overall, or the person creating all of the AI music. So there should be some transparency right from the start. Like in my case on my YouTube channel, I say exactly where the music is coming from. And then from a privacy standpoint, we want the user data to be protected and only be used for the intended purpose. This helps maintain the trust and prevents misuse of personal information. We want to make sure that if someone's generating music, that there's no back channels for bad actors to be able to get back into the system and figure out who the person is that's creating the music and maybe do harm to them. Maybe they're a competitor that maybe they know each other in real life and one wants to do financial harm to the other person. We want to make sure that the privacy is there and that the system can't be compromised to give out private information about the artists or even about the users, because maybe there's a competition over the users and we don't want that, or the listeners on the other end of the system. So we want to make sure that privacy is built into this. And from a creative standpoint, there isn't a box on the screen here from it, but we want to make sure that we're providing tools that enhance human creativity rather than replace it. So we want to make sure that everybody's aware that this is a good or positive thing that we're putting out there rather than a negative. Kind of goes back to the previous slide where people are worried about being replaced by AI. No, it's a tool. It's not meant to replace people. It's meant to be used by people. So for the code of ethics, our code of ethics guides the development and the use of the AI system, ensuring its alignment with ethical principles. It covers issues like fairness, transparency, accountability, privacy, and creativity, promoting responsible AI development and the use of in the music industry. So it covers the principles that we covered in the last slide. So for the security requirements analysis, a comprehensive security requirements analysis is crucial to ensure the ethical and secure development of the AI system. Analysis will involve identifying and evaluating potential vulnerabilities and threats, ensuring the system's robustness and resilience. This analysis will be conducted in accordance with the industry best practices and relevant security standards. So basically, we want to conduct a threat modeling exercise. We're going to look at potential threats, unauthorized access to the music files, the data breaches, manipulation of recommendation algorithms, and denial of service or DDoS attacks. We want to also look at security requirements, so data encryption, multi-factor authentication, secure communication channels, and access control mechanisms. And then we want to make sure that we develop a risk mitigation strategy. We're going to implement encryption for data at rest and in transit. We're going to use role-based access control to restrict the access to sensitive data, and we're going to conduct regular security audits and penetration testing. For system architecture, the AI system for music composition and production will be built on cloud-based infrastructure. This allows us to have scalability and flexibility as the system evolves. The core components of the system include data preprocessing and feature extraction, AI models for music composition and production, user interface and API for interacting with the system, and security and monitoring tools. So it's kind of interesting when I'm doing my own music. There's a lot of different pieces that I'm dealing with that are all separate entities. The lyrics generation is one piece, the music generation is another piece. Making the music files and combining that and the artwork, that's another step. And then going to the distribution network, that's a whole other step. So like trying to build an architecture that captures all of these things and streamlines it into one flow would be very important. So for the data flow diagram, first we have the music data collection. We have data sources like music libraries, user preferences, the trending genres that are collected and processed to train the AI model. We have AI composition and production. So the AI system analyzes the data and generates unique musical compositions, leveraging trained models for melody, harmony, and rhythm. Now, this is actually kind of a wish list item for me, because currently with the system that I use, there is no layered approach. Like imagine if you're making doing AI art, where you have the ability to layer everything and then flatten the image. Right now, music is generated all at one time. Udio does 2-minute segments at a time. Suno creates an entire song all at one time, but you don't have any control over all of the layers of vocals, melody, harmony, or rhythm. So that's on my wish list. I wish that that was able to be done, so that if you didn't like the vocals, you could kick that out and redo it. Say you didn't like the vocal fry, or you didn't like someone that was very flat toned or whatever. Anyway, well, getting a little off topic there, but that's something that's on my wish list. User feedback and interaction. Users can provide feedback on the generated music, influencing the future compositions and refining the AI model. I've been getting some feedback on the music that I've been generating, and it's been very helpful because it allows me to understand what they like. Now, on one hand, I'm making the music kind of for myself because it's kind of therapeutic and been helpful to get a lot of things off my chest that I've been, ruminating over for decades. Whereas on the other side of it, now that I put it out there for the universe to listen to, now I'm getting feedback as to what they like or don't like about the music, and I can actually do that, use their input to try to make future music better for both of us. And then from a data storage and security standpoint, user data and music compositions are stored securely with access control measures and ensure privacy and ethical use. So we want to make sure that there's a secure data flow between the components, and then user authentication before access. And we want to make sure that we show all the components, that we're showing the interactions and illustrate how the data moves through the system, from input to AI processing to output. So it's really important that we identify everything start to finish through the diagram. We kind of covered some of this information on the fairness in AI-powered music composition, but I'll kind of go over it real quickly. So we want to make sure that with the equal opportunities, we're ensuring that all the composers have access to the AI, and regardless of their background or experience, we don't want to have a steep learning curve that makes it really hard for a new person to come in and maybe they've got a lot of musical talent and knowledge, they've played instruments, but they don't know how to use the system. We don't want that to be the stumbling block for them to not use the system or to decide to go and use somebody else's system. We want to make sure that the unbiased algorithms that we train the AI on a diverse data set of music, and avoid introducing biases that favor certain styles or composers. I'll go into the fair representation first and then comment on both of these. The AI should generate music that fairly represents the diverse range of musical styles and genres. So we want to make sure, like, for example, if you're making country music and you love slide guitar, but for some reason the algorithm just won't kick out a song with slide guitar. It's going to make you unhappy, and maybe you'll rage quit and go somewhere else. You want to make sure that helps, that the system helps you in making the music, but you also want to make sure that if you're generating music, it's got a good set for, like, if it's been trained on all country music, but very little metal music. The metal music that you get is either going to sound a very certain way, or it's going to sound terrible, or maybe a bit of both. So we want to make sure that the algorithms are fair and level across all the genres and style of composers. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you have human oversight. You want to have human composers that retain control over the AI, ensuring ethical guidelines are followed. So in my case, like, every time a song is generated, it does basically an A/B testing for 2 songs at a time. I get to look at each version of that and kick one out or kick both of them out because I don't like them, and generate 2 more. You want to make sure that you have that oversight, because if I blindly just if I generate the song, never listen to it, and put it out there for the universe to listen to, I could get laughed at. So it's very important that there's a human element in the process. And I only covered in that example there one tiny piece of it, but you want to make sure you have a human oversight over start to finish through the whole thing. And accountability and transparency in AI-driven production. So with traceability, we're ensuring that the ability to trace the AI system's decisions and actions, back to the underlying code and data. This allows for identification and potential biases and errors. I'm going to actually skip down to explainability for a moment and say developing techniques to make the AI system's reasoning and decision-making processes comprehensible to humans, promoting trust and understanding. So we want to make sure that, like, in anything that happens with this code, that if for some reason, like if I, say, use the slide guitar example again, if for some reason it will not make a song that produces slide guitar, or let's say that you hate slide guitar and every song comes out with slide guitar, you're gonna go back to the developer and say, what on earth is happening here? I love this, or I hate this, and I don't understand what's happening. And if they can't explain it, then you got a major problem, because that means that there's a variable in the system, and I don't mean like from a coding standpoint, but I mean a variable, something, an anomaly that you can't explain. And if there's one, that means that there's potentially a lot more. So it's really important to understand the traceability and the explainability of what's happening in the system. And then from auditability, we want to be able to enable independent audits of the AI system and performance, the ethical considerations, and the compliance with established guidelines. So guidelines, whether that means eventually having legal guidelines or legal compliance, or potentially having industry guidelines. We want to make sure that anybody can come in and say, hey, your system is breaking copyright law. Show us how you're not breaking copyright law. So then you have to be able to show everybody why this is or isn't an issue. And then from a documentation standpoint, maintaining comprehensive documentation of the AI system's design, development, training data, and ethical considerations. This is a pet peeve of mine in industry. Everywhere I've worked, universally, everybody's really bad at capturing tribal knowledge. Tribal knowledge is something where you're taking the knowledge and experience of the user or operator and being able to put what isn't part of the work instruction, the standard work instruction, pen to paper, and write down certain things. And In my case, like anytime I've started a job, I document and take notes on a lot of stuff. I put it down on paper because if I have to train someone, let's say that I was going to get a promotion, I want to be able to train my replacement, get them up and going as fast as possible so I can start learning how to do my new job, and be able to pass that knowledge on. And then also, if they come to me and have questions, that I can point to, the documentation, my notes and stuff, and say, here, I documented this right here. This is how you do this. And that may not be part of the standard operating procedure. It's something that's outside of that. But I'm getting a little off track here, but it was just kind of my example on documentation. I've worked in pharma and I've worked in aerospace, and both those industries are very documentation heavy. They tend to be very procedurally documentation heavy, but they don't always capture everything that needs to be known about how to do a job. So those are things to consider. Preserving privacy and creativity in the music industry. So I'm not going to go over the exact wording here. You can read it yourself. But basically, we want to make sure that the system is private, that all the information, it's very difficult to, basically steal anybody's data or, tamper with anything. But on the other side, we want to make sure that it's a tool to help with creativity, and it's not meant to replace human creativity. And read an article today where a video game called No Man's Sky, I guess the user population wanted to have a particular boss fight, and the boss fight was never made. So a lot of news articles are AI written. It's like they scrape the internet and automatically generate articles. Well, the gaming community caught wind of this, started to make all these Reddit posts about this, how to do this boss fight. The AI bots ended up writing articles about how to do this boss fight, and the boss fight doesn't exist. So it's really important that the human element is part of the system, because if there's nothing there to control, like, hey, this is actually a real thing, or no, this doesn't really exist, you could have basically a hallucination from the AI, or either a hallucination, or it could be scraping up stuff that is completely false, and it has no way of knowing because it can't play the game. That's kind of the flip side on the creativity side of it, that you don't want creativity to go the bad way. So implementing the ethical and secure AI system, we want to make sure that, number one, we establish a governance framework, define roles and responsibilities. Two, we want to develop clear policies and procedures, and we're addressing data privacy, ethical considerations, and security measures. Three, we're implementing robust security measures, and we're going to protect sensitive data and ensure the system integrity. And then four, we're going to conduct regular audits and reviews, and we're going to monitor the compliance and identify potential risks. So in summary of what we saw here on the slide, we're implementing bias detection tools to monitor AI-generated music and the recommendations. We're using transparency tools to label AI-generated content, and then we're implementing user consent mechanisms before using data for music recommendations. We want to make sure we have detailed security controls, so we're going to secure coding practices. We're going to follow the best practices to write secure code. We're going to do regular security audits and schedule frequent security checks and updates. And then we're going to have a robust incident response plan, or multiple plans, where we prepare a plan to respond to security breaches very quickly. Or any other sort of anomaly that takes place, that hey, is this a problem or is it not a problem? We want to make sure that we head that off immediately, and not let it fester for 3 weeks and go, oh my god, we've got all this credit card data that is now being sold on the dark web. And finally, for testing and validation, we're going to have rigorous testing, which is crucial for ensuring the ethical and secure functionality of the AI system. So one, functional testing. We're going to verify core music composition and the production capabilities. Two, security testing. We're going to assess the system vulnerabilities and data protection measures. Three, ethical evaluation. We're going to review adherence to the ethical principles and the frameworks that we put in place. Four, we're doing user acceptance testing. We're going to gather feedback from the musicians and industry stakeholders. And this is extremely important. It's, I would say, probably one of the most important things. Um, we see a lot of releases end up going out, a deployment, and maybe they haven't done like a full blown testing, and the servers all crash, or there's a major security breach, or there's a funny one with World of Warcraft where uh, they they did something with one of the bosses from, I think it was the vanilla version, and everybody in town ended up getting a debuff that would tick down, let's say 10 minutes or something, and die, but it was also contagious. It was like a virus. And it ended up, you always end up with somebody that likes to troll people. So they got the debuff, took it back to the main capital city where everybody hangs out. They all got sick. Everybody kept dying over and over and over again until finally the developer had to do a patch, because it ended up like wiping out uh, like thousands and thousands of players, probably millions of players technically, and it went on for a couple days, I think, maybe longer, until they figured out like what was happening. There's a conspiracy theory that it was done on purpose as testing. There was a paper that was written after the fact, but that's a whole other thing. But anyway, acceptance testing, very important, both from the user, the composer that's making the music, and then also from the listener that's getting the recommendations. You want to be able to take both pieces of that, integrate it together, and have a very robust perspective of everything start to finish as it's being deployed out for the industry, or not just the industry, but for like everybody that is using the system. So in conclusion, if you boil everything down to a few sentences, basically we want to make sure that we're making a tool that is extremely secure, that it is a tool that is beneficial, that it's fun to use, that it's useful, and that it isn't doing harm to anybody, that it's fair across the board, and if there are problems, that it's accountable and it can be fixed, and that privacy is being maintained all in the process. So it's very important to highlight that this is a tool to be used by the musicians or the composers, and also by the listener. It's not to replace anyone in that entire process, start to finish. So that is my perspective on this presentation. So if you like this presentation, please hit the thumbs up, and I will see you all next time.